the Bible gives us a couple of categories of, let's say, ailments that we might have or sicknesses we might have, as well as even personality disorders or things like epilepsy, things like that, that sometimes get associated with demonic oppression or possession. The Bible has two categories that some of those things can be demonic in origin, but sometimes they're supernatural, but other times they're just natural things. So the Bible it accounts for both. So we can't assume that every type of issue somebody might have is demonic in origin. It has to be discerned. It could be. Sometimes it could be a mixture. It could be both. Now, you might struggle with the idea of demons, demonology. You might think, a lot of Christians are okay with this. You get it, right? There's a spiritual world. Yeah, we understand that. But some people struggle. Some people feel embarrassed about this, or this can be a barrier to some people believing in the Bible, believing in God. But if you believe in God, you believe in a spiritual world. So to believe in God is to believe in spiritual things. And if God made physical people, why couldn't he have made spiritual people? If you believe, or if you're open to the idea of the multiverse, then you already believe in beings in other dimensions. So demons are real. They can have real power in people's lives. I've seen somebody manifest a demon before firsthand. So I'm convinced of this. I know this can happen. We don't want to make too much of it, but we also don't want to deny it. The only logical conclusion that these scribes can come to about Jesus is that he must be doing these works by the power of Satan. Because they won't accept that his ministry could be legitimately from God. They won't accept it. So because they can't deny that these exorcisms and these healings are real, the only option they have is to say, well, he must be using the power of Satan to do these kinds of things. So they're claiming, essentially, there's some kind of civil war going, some kind of demonic civil war that's happening. Demons are like fighting and hurting each other in order to make it, to make it appear that Jesus is powerful. And so they use this term 𝗍𝗶𝘆𝗆. It is by the power of 𝗍𝗶𝘆𝗆 that Jesus is doing these things. 𝗍𝗶𝘆𝗆, in some renditions of this or translations of this, it can be translated Lord of the Flies. Literally can mean that. There's a famous book written named after, it comes from the Bible here, from 𝗍𝗶𝘆𝗆. But at the heart of this, a more literal translation, is the idea of a master of a house. 𝗍𝗶𝘆𝗆, the term, that name means a master of a house, or even a ruler, an exalted ruler of a kingdom. Okay, that's the idea of 𝗍𝗆𝘆𝗆. But it's not a neutral term, it is a term of contempt. And there might be some connection between 𝗍𝗆𝘆𝗆 and the cult of Baal in the Old Testament. So for ancient Israelites, their arch nemesis in the Old Testament was the idol or the god Baal. Lots of people like to worship Baal for some reason. He seems like he was a cool guy to them. Not a cool guy, but they like Baal. So Baal is like the arch nemesis enemy of the Israelites. And so so the first part of 𝗍𝗆𝘆𝗆 sounds like, and in the original language, looks like Baal. And so it could mean exalted Baal, 𝗍𝗆𝘆𝗆, exalted Baal. It could mean that. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to imagine Jesus as the worst, greatest enemy that Israel has ever had. In our day and age, this would be the Hitler card, right? That's to imagine the worst evil today. That's what people do in our day, right? They're like, oh, it's Hitler. Yeah, that person's like Hitler. That's a Hitler thing. It's a Nazi thing, right? That's our concept in our modern day era. Is if you're going to think of the worst thing ever, you just go to Hitler, the Nazis, or that time period. That's where you go. And so that's what they're doing with 𝗍𝗆𝘆𝗆, our arch nemesis, the exalted Baal. That's how Jesus is doing this. And so for Jesus to be accused of he's doing these good works, doing powerful works, great works, but they're accusing him of doing it by the power of and in the name of Satan. And this is what Jesus means when he says, he talks about the unforgivable sin.
When you like and subscribe, this video reaches more people.